The Outlanders Journey. Tier 1, Level 0. Chapter 19. Laurel, you're back downtown, shopping for whatever supplies you can afford. You were hoping to find some scrolls and magic items, now that you have the extra income, but you found that your paltry 20 gold savings will never afford an 800 gold dimension door, which was already heavily discounted for academy students and staff. You managed to get your hands on some used thieves' tools in the market district from a grizzly man with an eye patch. For the past 3 days, you've been spending your free time poring over the INA's history and geography and maps. You've scoured the libraries and Sanos' collections, but you've found almost no useful information. No one has documented even the existence of furbolgs and elves in the forest. Meanwhile, your brother has finally escalated your situation to your parents. Your mother and father have all individually messaged you. Daily, frequent sendings using every persuasive technique to get you to respond. Your mother is more beseeching, employing her soft, cooing tone to appeal to reason. Your father, firm and domineering, opts to threaten to disown you if you continue ignoring the family. With each message, you find it harder and harder to tell them what's going on, and you've opted to solve this ordeal without their involvement. All they would do is panic and force you into hiding, and you've already committed to rescuing Bach and Maya Lee first, somehow. Once you get those two home, you'll come clean to your family about everything. The leaves have begun to change color. The air has grown chilly. You bury your face into the collar of your thin jacket, and you shove your hands into your pockets. As you wade back into the financial district, you see passing civilians donning fur coats, thick scarves, wool hats, and leather gloves. A homeless man by a street food vendor, a human with gray stubble and a square jaw, wearing torn trousers, asks you for some spare change, and you crumple up a gold bill and toss it into his hat. For what you need, a gold bill and a copper coin give you about the same level of spending power. The man thanks you. You reach the town square, and you find the familiar stage where you've performed as Phalel for the first and only time. It's empty now, even though there would normally be a show playing right now. The changing room carriage is also gone. Against your better judgment, you approach the stage. You press your hands against the stone floors, and you pull yourself up. You sit at the edge at first, dangling your feet and gazing into the empty audience section. Then you stand up and stroll to center stage, imagining the spotlight and a cheering crowd. All of this mess because the worst person saw you cast a spell during your performance. This is stupid. You're only drawing more attention. You hop back down. You head home, passing the fountain where you first met Professor Sanos. Water is spraying out of the mage statue's pointed wand, and the cold mist sprinkles onto your face. Where would you be if you had rejected the professor's job offer? Laurel? Your heart drops before you even recognize Amena's voice. Slowly, you turn your head to her. She's staring at you with just as much surprise as you feel, her mouth slightly open. She's wearing a long fleece coat and has a bag of produce in her arms from the general store. Fuck. Fucking fuck. Fuck your life. Hi, you say. I thought that was you walking around on stage. You really are a moron. I was expecting to see a show, you say. There haven't been any new shows in weeks. They canceled our performances for the rest of the year. I'm sorry to hear that, you say. How have you been? She stares at you for a moment. Then she scoffs, shaking her head and rolling her eyes. Never mind, she says, veering away. This was a mistake. Wait, you say, to your own shock. Amina, wait, I never had the chance to apologize for what happened. I'm truly sorry. She narrows her eyes, studying you. You just left all of a sudden and disappeared. I know. It was very selfish and careless of me, and you deserve better. She sighs. Then why did you do it? It's a long story, you say. A thought crosses your mind. Though she has never directly confirmed this, Amena seems to come from a well-to-do family. You know exactly how much, or rather how little, she should be making as an actress, and yet she is living in one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in the most expensive district. Some member of her family must have some kind of connection to a position of authority or wealth, and if you can convince her, you may be able to get your hands on the resources you need to get Bach and Maya Lee out. Would she be willing to listen? Can you convince her to help? You don't have to agree to this, you say, but maybe we can go back to your place, if you don't mind. I can explain everything. She takes a moment to consider. Fine, she says. The sun is setting. The two of you walk side by side, an awkward distance in between. Her perfume wafts over to you. You did miss her, in a way. So, where have you been? She asks. Everyone has been worried about you. A lot has been happening lately, you say. I want you to know it's not you. She scoffs. Yeah. You look down. I would have told you sooner if I had that chance. I'm sure. How have you been, though? You ask. Did the last few shows go well? Not without you, she says sarcastically. You force out a chuckle, glancing down at your feet. You look really nice. I'm glad to see you're well, and I'm sure you'll find better opportunities. She glances at you, shaking her head as she sighs. The troupe is still around. Our performances were stopped because they want us to prepare next year's play instead. They say winter will be pretty harsh, so they aren't pushing any more travelers out after this month. If we keep putting on plays, it'll send the wrong message. I see, you say. It sounds like the troupe is actually convincing people to move if they still want another production next year. She shrugs. It's still drawing crowds. It is free entertainment. Yeah, she says. I guess it is a romantic idea, becoming an adventurer. Have you ever thought about journeying west? She shakes her head. I wouldn't be able to survive a day out there. It's not for me, but it's fun to read about. She's starting to ease up. The people who go out there are searching for opportunities that they can't find here. The new playwright has been collecting testimonies to use next year. Some of the stories we've heard from these crazy adventuring parties, they're so outlandish that it's hard to know if they're even true. These people deal with not just bandits, but ferocious animals, like bears with the face of an owl. At first we thought they were exaggerating, but we kept hearing them over and over again, from all sorts of different people. When you were younger, you and Ilothor used to come up with fantastical stories about all the kinds of people and animals you would find out west, beyond the mountains. It was one of those childhood dreams, the idea of throwing away your responsibilities and embracing the call of the wild. You reach Amena's home, and for the second time, you step up to the porch with her. She unlocks the door and allows you inside. She touches a glass dome on the wall, and it lights up, revealing the warm, rustic colors of the interior. The last time you were here, you didn't stay long enough to examine her home. There's a common area to your left, with a couch and a small table. A lute is leaned against the table, and pages of a play are scattered around the floor. The walls are made of smooth, vibrantly red brick stone. The floors are some sort of polished porcelain. You smell a fresh, floral scent, reminding you of your mother's lavender flowers. Directly ahead of you is a hallway that leads to another room, perhaps a kitchen. You spot the set of stairs that you climbed last time. Amena rushes to the table and collects the papers. She tosses away a dress and a pair of gloves on the couch. Sorry, she says. I'm not the tidiest person. I try to clean up if I know guests are coming. No. I'm the one who has to come over on such short notice. After she clears the couch, she takes off her coat. She touches your arm. Here, you can give me your jacket. I'll hang it up. You slip it off and hand it over to her. As your hands touch, you notice that her face is flushed. You've missed her. Your jacket in your hands and hers. You close the distance and pull her in by the waist. Thanks for giving me another chance, you whisper, and you kiss her. Her body tenses up at first. When you pull away, she grabs the back of your head and kisses you back, dropping the coats. She's warm and her lips are soft. You really have missed her. She finally lets go. She says. I, you're welcome. She scoops up the jackets and shuffles to the coat rack by the front door, hanging them up. She turns and motions toward the couch. You sit as she wades to the spot next to you. The sofa is much softer than what you're used to. It's comfortable. The room is warm and cozy. It reminds you of the last time you visited home. Do you want anything to drink? She asks, taking a seat. No, I'm all right, you say. Are you sure? You nod. So then, she says, do you want to talk about what happened? You sigh, having rehearsed the words in your head many times on the way here. But sitting in front of her, you feel your hands starting to sweat. You clear your throat. So, you know I've been working for a professor at the academy. She nods. I was having a hard time managing everything, and during our date, I started getting messages demanding I go back to work. Messages? Yeah, you say. You know, with the sending spell. She nods. It's been hard, you say. I thought I was in trouble, and there's just been so much pressure and everything. It all came to a head that night. It's no excuse, though, and I'm very sorry for leaving. For the first time, you see her face express slight sympathy. I'm sorry to hear that, but I would have understood if you had just told me. You nod. I know, and I appreciate that. It would have just been nice to get something from you. A letter, one of those sendings, anything. I understand, but unfortunately, the reason I asked to speak privately in your home and the reason I haven't been able to speak with you since that night is because, well, what I do is very secretive. I discovered something very big. What I'm about to share with you, I'm not allowed to tell you, and I would be violating some, well, I don't know if it's illegal, but it goes against the contract I signed. What do you mean? That professor I work for, he told me when I first started that all the professors are very competitive, so they make their researchers keep their work a secret. She nods. I know about that, yeah. Some of the research that my professor has been doing, I don't know if it's right. Right as in factually correct? She asks. No, right as in morally or ethically good. She tilts her head, furrowing her brow. Are you in some sort of danger? You could report him to the authorities if that's the case, or to the dean if it's an academic violation. I don't think I can. Why not? She asks. You shake your head. I can't. You take in a deep breath, staring into her eyes. She's confused and she's starting to look scared, too. The reason I couldn't talk to you was because of all the secrets and the pressure and everything. She nods slowly. Do you want to know? You ask. She doesn't answer. She fixes her gaze to the floor, shifting in her seat. Laurel, if you're not allowed to tell me, then I don't know if it's good to tell me. I do understand your situation now, though. Well, I was hoping. At this point, I'd appreciate any help I can get. I've been asking around, and I honestly didn't want to bother you about it. I still don't want to bother you about it, but thinking out loud, I was wondering if maybe you might have any, connections? Connections? Yeah, like anyone who's part of your network, part of the Actors Guild, since I'm not a member yet. I'm happy to help you apply. I think if you stick with the troupe, you have a good chance to join. You nod. Yeah, definitely. And I can help introduce you to some of my peers. I'd really appreciate that, Amena. You're too kind. Would that help with your situation, though? Well, in all honesty, It might help me find a way out for myself, but, I I want to make sure that the unethical practices are properly handled too, and I want to make sure that other people also affected can also find a way out. I want to do the right thing. Right. You can sense the unease in her voice. I don't know who I can really turn to at this point. I've only asked the people I truly trust for help, and I do truly trust you. Unfortunately, none of my close connections have the power to do anything, so I was wondering if perhaps on top of the connections you've made as an actor, you might have any family who will be able to help in some way? Maybe they could get me and some others out of this situation? You immediately sense her go cold. Family, she says. The look on her face turns from hesitation to sudden disdain. She opens her mouth for a moment, then closes it. Finally, she says, "How do you know about my family?" No, I don't mean it like that. I ask this to every person I talk to, not just you. She narrows her eyes. Sure, but it just so happens that only when you need help do you talk to me again. And you end up asking about my family. Amena, I didn't mean it like, I don't talk that much about my family for a reason, she says. I've had a lot of bad experiences with people who pretended to be friends with me because they found out who my father is. You put your hands up defensively. I want to be clear. I don't know who your father is. I'm here because I'm trying to explain to you what happened. But you specifically asked about my family, she says. Yeah, but that's not because I knew exactly who you were. I was only gauging it based on how You're only making it worse. Yeah, she says, rolling her eyes. Yeah, I understand now, she sighs. You reach out to her, touching her hand. Amena, I'm trying to do the right thing here, ethically. This professor, he's powerful, and a lot of us don't have any way of getting out of this situation, and you know I care about both you and our relationship, and I just want us to be on the same page. You don't have to help if you don't want. I'm not here to pressure you. She takes her hands away, pursing her lips, taking a moment to consider her words. She takes a deep breath. Laurel, I don't know what you're hoping to get out of me, and maybe I'm the fool for going up to you in the first place. But here's the thing I need you to know about me. Everywhere I go, I'm pursued by this stupid reputation, when all I want is to make my own name. I really... She shakes her head. I thought you were at least different from that. That night you ran away, I at least told myself you were a different kind of asshole. But even that was wrong, it turns out. I am different, you say. I swear, I like you for you. I do. And you don't need to help me. Pretend I didn't say any of this. You at least understand partially what's going on in my life, and I appreciate that you listened. But she isn't listening to you anymore. She's made up her mind. When we first started getting close, it felt like you were one of the few men I've met who was nice to me because you truly were a kind person, and you weren't trying to use me to get to my father. I don't know why, but the fact that you weren't chasing me that desperately, it made me think this was something real and natural, and I could be the one to set the pace. It felt like you liked me for me. You made me feel special for who I am, and you never brought up my family even once. And then, all of a sudden, you left that night, for no reason, and then you stopped showing up at practice, and I didn't have any way of contacting you. I asked around the neighborhood to see if they knew where you moved to, and no one even knew who you were. I thought I was going crazy. I even went to Flamora to see if you were there, like a needy idiot, and I never saw you. And now you're telling me that you're involved in illegal activities, asking me to help while bringing up my family. I'm sorry, Laurel. Truly, I'm sorry for what you're going through, but I can't get myself involved. Tears are welling up in her eyes. She dabs them with her sleeve and lets out a long, drawn-out breath. I'm sorry, you say. I did want to get in touch. Truly. Did you ever live in this neighborhood? She asks. Did you ever live across the street from me? You open your mouth, then sigh and shake your head. I guess I'm the stupid one for even believing you. Where did you really live? You're gazing down at your hands, twiddling your thumb pathetically. West End, you say. I was having trouble making ends meet with my income, so that was the only place I could afford. Yeah, she says. I should have realized that. Why did you lie to me about it? I wanted to impress you. Why did you live in West End? Isn't there student housing available near Flamora? I'm not really a student either. I was kicked out last semester. She scoffs. Wow. She shakes her head, laughing to herself. Would you have even contacted me again if I hadn't run into you today? Yes, of course, you say, though neither of you is convinced by your words. She laughs this time. What else have you been lying about? You consider how things would turn out if you ever reveal your true appearance to her, your changeling form, the pale skin, gray pupils, silver hair, a truly vile and repulsive sight. You shake your head. Now you know everything I'm allowed to share. I guess this is how things end then? It never really started, Laurel, she says. Yeah. Good luck with whatever problems you're involved in. Thanks, you say. Good luck with the troop. As you stand, you realize you've been sitting on the edge of the couch this entire time, stiffly, leaning forward with your elbows on your knees, having never truly made yourself look at ease. That was probably the moment she realized you weren't planning to stay for long, or truly for her company. Actors always know when someone else is acting. She gets up and follows you. You open the front door and take your jacket from the coat rack. You turn to her to say goodbye, but she's watching you with her arms crossed, keeping a safe distance. You nod, then you exit and shut the door behind you. You're hit with a frigid gust of wind. Before you take a single step down the stairs, you already hear the lock click. You walk back through the dark, empty streets to the nearest teleportation circle, and you receive your nightly barrage of messages in your head. I don't need an explanation about what happened at the academy. I just need to know you're safe, Elise, says your mother. This is my final warning. You are either part of this family or not. This is your decision to make, not mine, says your father. And then, for the first time since your argument, your brother in a crying tone. Elise, I'm sorry. I did what I did for your own good, but I still want to be a part of your life. Please understand. A pedestrian walks past you, gawking at you. Only then do you realize you've been crying. The snot is leaking into your mouth, and tears are dripping off your chin and falling onto your shoes. If you could leave with Bach and Maili and escape this horrible city, you would. You wipe your face and glare at the pedestrian, who immediately averts her gaze and continues on. You close your eyes and send your reply. I'm so lonely, Ilithor. I don't know what to do. I fucked up so bad. I've put you all in danger. A moment passes, and you hear a second message. Then let me into your mess. I'll find you a way out. Meet me at the cafe again tomorrow. We'll fix this together. All right? All right.